I leaned into every different therapy known to man. I did not want to be my past failures or my past experiences dictate my future progress or my future outcomes. Hey guys, welcome back. When I was in the military, when I got out, and this was in my book, Excommunicated Warrior. If you haven't purchased that book or read it, you should. It's amazing. I didn't even know that it was going to be amazing until I wrote it, launched it, and then thousands of people came back, and still to this day, they're like, dude, that's a great book. And sometimes I even listen to the audiobook myself as like a good checkup. But in that book, I tell a story about this. Tell a story about how over a 12-year period of time, I was building up these experiences. And over 12 years in multiple combat deployments and just life experience and tragedy, what happens is in that job and much in life, you're just moving to the next day, one right after the next workup, then the next deployment, and then there's a friend dies in combat, and you just move on. You just keep moving on. The mission continues, the deployment continues, and you get back. You don't really have time to think about anything else because you're right in the, you take a little bit of time off, you're right back into the next workup, and then you're going. And then what happens is you're used to moving, your train is used to moving 300 miles an hour, and you've got all of this baggage behind you. You've collected all these cars that now are on the train tracks moving 300 miles an hour. And then when you get out, or a life event change, maybe you get hurt, maybe you change or you retire, you remove a career, your kids go off to school, you have a life, altering injury, maybe you're in sports, and sports was a big part of the book as well. Is, you've played football from the time you're 5 years old until you're 23 in NFL, whatever. And then you blow out your knee, and at 23, you're no longer a football player, So that's that kind of thing. This big life change happens. You stop living from 300 miles an hour and you go down to 10 miles an hour. Well, the problem is all those experiences, all that trauma, everything that's happened to you is still going 300 miles an hour, and it just smacks you right in the back of the head. And now you've got to deal with that shit. And the reason why I bring this up is yesterday I was on one of my tier 1 coaching calls, and that question got brought up. They read my book and they were saying, how do we deal with this? I don't want to go 10 miles an hour and then I have to deal with all this all at once. And I'm like, definitely not. Which leads me to this next part of it. Have you ever started something? Maybe you wanted to lose weight. Maybe you wanted to start a habit, whatever the thing is. And you do it for a little while and then you fall off the wagon. You self-sabotage. You're doing good. Maybe you lose 20 pounds. And then once you lose that 20 pounds, you gain it back up. You gain that 20 pounds back, or maybe even worse, you gain 25, 30 pounds, right? And then over the course of years, you're just doing this roller coaster thing to where you're really never making progress. You're just kind of spinning your wheels. Well, the reason why that is, the psychology behind that is the fact that you're self-sabotaging, you're not making true progress because of all of the stuff on the back of the train. You're not dealing with the root cause. You guys have to go back there and deal with that. So for me, I didn't want to deal with all of this baggage. So what did I do? I leaned into every different therapy known to man. I did not want to be my past failures or my past experiences dictate my future progress or my future outcomes. So what I told this tier 1 client was, you have to go deal with that. And maybe it's the very first one. Maybe it's the most recent trauma. And okay, Nick, well, how do I stop from self-sabotaging? How do I deal with all these different things? Well, the reality is none of us want to deal with it because it's ugly and it's difficult and it's hard and we have to get vulnerable and we have to take a knee and we have to maybe go talk to somebody. We have to do all these different things to shine light on it. We have to stop. We have to stop with the external input and sit and think. So there's a lot of different methods of what you need to do. The reality is the first part that you need to do is own it. You need to look at it and you need to own your shit. You need to just peel away your ego, open up, bare your chest, be vulnerable, and just freaking own it. This has happened to you. Forgive yourself, forgive others, not for the benefit of others, okay? Don't forgive someone because you think that they, you want them to know that you forgive them. They don't even really give a shit. There's people that probably have wronged you and they've wronged me and they sleep well at night and they're going on about their life. But meanwhile, they're living rent free in your head. And the reason why you should forgive them is so that you're not carrying around that weight. You're not carrying carrying around that burden on your shoulders because it weighs you down. As soon as you free yourself from that, your whole world opens up. Your whole world opens up. And the benefit of that is exponential. Now, does it happen overnight? No. Somebody wrongs you and you just mentally say, well, I forgive them. Doesn't mean that you really forgive them. You're still holding on to your resentment. You're still holding on to bitterness. But it comes with reps. If you keep saying it long enough, you will believe it. And then finally, one day, you're like, oh, it doesn't really carry any weight on me. It doesn't have a burden over me anymore. And maybe you need to tell them. Maybe you need to go tell them, like, hey, listen, I just want to clear the air, man. Like, this is what happened. Maybe you did this and I did this. Maybe I feel this way. I don't want to carry this around anymore. And I just want to clear the air, and I'll let you know that, I'm sorry, or I forgive you. And that be that. And they don't have to receive that. That's on them. That's their life. You're not responsible for their success. You're not responsible for their happiness. You're not responsible for them forgiving anybody. That's on you. You do it for you and your life. And then, so once you've done that, then it goes into just the hard work. And I am talking about therapy. I am talking about brutal, honest conversations that are uncomfortable, the ones you're putting off, that monkey in your back that you just don't want to deal with, the phone call that you don't want to make, the trip that you don't want to make, the coffee break with somebody that you're like, hey, let's go grab a coffee and chat. That thing that's just been gnawing at you and keeps you up at night. Whatever those things are, instead of avoiding them, just confront them head on. Confront them like they're just a big dragon that needs to be slayed. And when you start slaying those dragons, the things that are derailing you in your life, well, now you're starting to remove limiting beliefs and you're going to be able to see a different future. You're going to see a light at the end of the tunnel. But if you're continually self-sabotaging, you're playing the roller coaster game, it's because you're not dealing with the trauma that happened in your past. For instance, there's a statistic, and this rings true time and time again. The more men I work with, the more men I get in a vulnerable setting where I get a bunch of men together and we start talking about it and we invite them for a place of openness. 1 in 3 men have been sexually abused. That's a statistic that is real. I didn't believe it, but over the last few years, as I've been doing what I've been doing, it is a continuous marker. 1 in 4 men have been physically abused. I'm one of those as a child. Like, that happened to me. And guess what? Nobody talks about it. Nobody brings it up. They bury it down and they don't realize why they're continuing to self-sabotage. So things like that, if sexual abuse was something for you, physical abuse was something that happened to you, it doesn't really matter what it is. Trauma is trauma, but you have to go deal with that shit. And if you don't go deal with it, you will continue to derail your life. Every goal that you set, yeah, you'll make something, but then you'll backslide in another area. And it's because you're not dealing with the root cause. So if you want to be successful, if you want to stop yin-yang, if you want to stop playing the roller coaster of life, you have to go deal with your shit. And I suggest dealing with the closest train car and then working your way back to where you're not carrying around all this baggage. And as soon as you do, you feel like a free person. You feel like a free man. You feel unburdened by weight, unburdened by past issues and traumas and all this stuff. And you really truly are free here. And that's what's crazy, is all of this stuff is in the past, yet it's right here in your brain. It's the thing that's holding you back from being successful in life. Maybe you're successful in your marriage, successful as a father with your kids, successful in business. Maybe it's your physical fitness. Maybe you have monetary problems are rooted from the past. You guys got to go deal with your shit. Maybe it's lean into your faith, right? Maybe it's work with a therapist. Maybe it's do some plant medicine. And guys, I'll sit here and tell you right now, I've done all of those things. I've gotten leaned in way more into my faith. I've had the uncomfortable conversations, okay? I've done the forgiveness stuff. I've done therapy, okay? And I've got into plant medicine. And every single time, those things reveal themselves of things that how I'm not showing up or things that I'm holding on to. And it makes my faith stronger. It makes my relationship with my wife stronger. It makes me a better leader in my business. And it makes me a better father. And now I'm not yin-yanging my results continuously. I'm just on a trajectory of growth. So deal with the train cars. Deal with your shit. If you want to truly be successful, you can't be carrying around all this weight. It weighs you down. It slows you down. It slows progress. And you might think that you're doing a good job covering it up. Everyone else around you goes, man, he's just yin-yang back and forth. So go deal with your shit. Always forward, never quit, never surrender. See you guys in the next video. Peace.